On the planet Samaris, a pilot named Mills is with his wife Alya. As they watch their daughter Naveen on the beach. Mills is set to venture on a 2-year mission with other passengers in the hope of finding a cure for an illness that Naveen is suffering from. Naveen is trying to whistle but is having trouble doing so Mills shows her his own technique. Moments into the mission, Mills is commandeering his ship when he comes across an asteroid belt. The ship is hit with chunks of smaller asteroids, causing severe damage to the ship and sending it hurtling toward Earth. Mills crashes in a swamp, with all of the other passengers getting killed after being thrown from the ship. Mills sends out a distress call and begins to survey the environment, discovering that the air is breathable. He then finds one survivor in cryostasis, a young girl. As he carries her to safety, he spots a gigantic clawed footprint in the mud. More text appears saying that 65 million years ago, a mysterious visitor arrived on Earth. The following morning, Mills continues to explore the environment when he is attacked by a raptor, which he beats to death. He sees the girl hidden and runs after her, convincing her to return to the ship with him. Mills brings the girl to the ship to tend to her wound, learning her name is Koa and that she does not speak English. Mills figures that the pods needed to get off the planet are stuck on a mountain, so he lies to Koa and tells her that they are going to find her family on the mountain. Before they venture off, Koa watches video logs that Mills received from Naveen during his voyage. They are initially lighthearted, but she appeared to grow angry and distressed by her father's absence. Before the last video Koa sees is Naveen saying that she is very tired. Mills turns the video off and they get moving. On their trek to the mountain, Koa sees a small dinosaur stuck in mud. Mills reluctantly helps her pull the dino out, but moments later, a pack of predator dinos comes out and fatally maul the little dinosaur, causing Koa to cry. Mills looks up to the sky and sees what looks like a bright object heading toward the planet. As they continue walking, Mills and Koa begin to slowly bond. He starts to loosen up and act playful with her, and he even carries her on his back as they walk further, and he shows her how to whistle like how he tried to teach Naveen. When it starts raining, they seek shelter in a cave. Mills sets up security monitors, one of which goes off as Koa is sleeping when a parasitic creature goes into her mouth. Mills manages to kill the parasite and save Koa. Soon after, a gigantic predator dinosaur appears and attempts to attack them. Mills shoots it in the face, but it attempts to enter the cave. Mills and Koa drop down a hole to get to safety. In the hole, Mills tries to find a way out. Koa pulls out a video log from Naveen that she took, which Mills is upset for at first, but he then plays it, although he is too distraught to look at it. He then tries to dig out of the cave before using a small bomb to blow a hole through it. While crawling out of there, Mills and Koa are separated, and Mills finds himself trapped after a slight cave-in. Koa makes the whistling sound she learned to let Mills know she is fine, and she makes it out of the cave, narrowly avoiding pterodactyls and a raptor that she manages to blow up in a log. After Mills gets out of the cave, he sees the bright object in the sky and uses his device to scan it. His computer tells him that it is an asteroid that is set to have a catastrophic impact on Earth in roughly 12 hours. Mills walks until he falls into some quicksand. He calls out for Koa, who manages to grab a long branch and pull him out before he sinks. The two make it to the top of the mountain, but Koa becomes distraught when she finds the bodies of her parents dead in their cryopods. She gets angry with Mills for lying to her, but he calms her down after trying to explain that he went through the same thing since Naveen died months ago during the mission, and his last memory of her is her being angry with him for not being there for her. He apologizes to Koa and vows to get them out of there. As they try to launch their escape pod, the ship falls further down the mountain and gets disabled. Two T-Rexes approach them and begin to attack. Mills fights them off while Koa stays in the ship, waiting for it to go back online. Mills shoots them both dead, but the cave dinosaur from earlier returns to finish Mills off. He runs toward a geyser to try and get it killed, but Koa arrives to help by stabbing the beast in the eye. The geyser then erupts and melts the cave dino's face off. Just moments before the asteroid makes its impact and decimates Earth's dinos, Mills and Koa return to the operational ship, exiting Earth's atmosphere on their way to an unknown location. As Earth develops over time, the credits show its modern civilization emerging. As in the classic fairy tale, after being abandoned by their father, Hansel and Gretel wander through the forest to find refuge. Lost, tired and hungry, they see a house made out of gingerbread and delicious candy. Starving, the children make their way to the gingerbread house and begin to eat pieces from it. Out of curiosity, The children enter the gingerbread house. On entering the house, the children see a monster-like old witch standing before them. It's too late. Before the children can run, they are quickly nabbed by the old witch inside. The witch forces Hansel to consume candy continuously while forcing Gretel to prepare the oven, but the siblings outsmart her and throw her into the oven before she has a chance to eat them. Throughout the years after the incident, an older Hansel and Gretel become ruthless bounty hunters dedicated to exterminating witches. They have an upper hand as bounty hunters because, for an unknown reason, they are immune to harmful witch spells and curses. Hansel, however, is diabetic as a result of his ordeal with the old witch and needs to take a regular shot of insulin every day. One day, in the German town of Augsburg, Hansel and Gretel prevent Sheriff Beringer from executing Mina, a young woman falsely accused of witchcraft. Mayor Engelmann has hired the siblings to find and rescue several children abducted by witches. At the same time, Beringer hires 4 trackers for the same mission, hoping to regain the respect of the mayor. However, all but one of the trackers are killed that night by the powerful Grand Witch Muriel, who sends the surviving member back to the town tavern to explode as a warning to the siblings and the locals. Hansel and Gretel, with the help of the mayor's assistant Jackson, capture the tall witch and interrogate her. They discover that the witches are preparing for the Feast of the Blood Moon, which requires sacrificing 12 children, 6 boys and 6 girls, each born on a separate month. When the siblings find out that the witches need one more girl to complete their ritual, Beringer refuses to cooperate with them in locating her. Suddenly, Muriel, the candy witch, and the troll, Edward, attack the town and abduct the targeted girl before springing their comrade out of jail. Gretel is knocked unconscious throughout the ordeal, but is brought to safety by a local boy named Ben, who is aspiring to be a witch hunter himself. Hansel grabs a fleeing candy witch by her broomstick, but is lost in the forest. In the morning, Mina finds Hansel and takes him to the spring where he can recover. While Gretel searches for her brother, Beringer and his men assault her, accusing her of luring the witches to their town by luring them to their forest. Out of nowhere, Edward charges at the men, "Oh shit!" and mutilates them before bringing Gretel to a waterfall where she can heal her wounds. He tells Gretel that trolls serve witches, and then walks away. They reunite at an abandoned cabin where they find out that it is not just their childhood home, but a witch's lair as well. Muriel appears before them and tells them the truth about their past. The mother of Hansel and Gretel was Adriana, a white witch who betrayed her kind by marrying a farmer, Hansel and Gretel's father. Muriel goes on to say that on the night of the blood moon, the heart of a white witch is needed to create a potion that makes witches impervious to fire. As Adriana was too powerful for the sacrifice, Muriel targeted Gretel, who was revealed to be a white witch herself. Muriel spread rumors about Hansel and Gretel's mother across the village. In order to hide the siblings from angry villagers, their father left them in the forest. However, when he returned home, they burned Adriana at the stake in front of his eyes, and then the villagers hanged their father. Following this revelation, the siblings battle Muriel before Muriel stabs Hansel and abducts Gretel for the ceremony. Hansel wakes up to the sight of Mina, who reveals herself to be a white witch. After Mina uses a spell to bless the siblings' arsenal, Hansel, Mina and Ben head to the top of a hill to disrupt the Feast of the Blood Moon. While Mina mows down dozens of witches with a Gatling gun, Hansel squares off against Muriel's minions and frees the children while Edward defies Muriel's orders and releases Gretel before he is thrown off the cliff by Muriel. With the ceremony ruined by the sunrise, Muriel and the surviving witches attempt to flee by broomsticks, but the witches are shredded by piano wire traps while Ben shoots Muriel off her broomstick. On her way to meet up with Hansel, Gretel finds an unconscious Edward and uses her stun gun to defibrillate him back to life. Hansel, Gretel and Mina follow Muriel's trail to the old gingerbread house. During their confrontation, Mina is stabbed by Muriel. The siblings continue to engage in a grueling fight against Muriel inside the gingerbread house until they decapitate her with a shovel. In the end, Hansel and Gretel collect the rest of their reward for rescuing the children before embarking on their next hunt, with Ben and Edward joining them. As the former International Space Station reaches critical mass in the 28th century, it becomes too dangerous to remain in low orbit. Relocating to deep space, Alpha became a city of space travelers inhabited by creatures from thousands of different planets. As part of the Special Police Division, the happy-go-lucky Major Valerian and his no-nonsense partner as well as girlfriend Sergeant Laureline, work on maintaining peace throughout the galaxy. During a mission, Valerian dreams of a planet where humanoid beings live peacefully. They hunt for pearls containing enormous amounts of energy, and they replicate them using small animals. Wreckage falls from the sky, causing an apocalypse to start. Before the explosion reaches the surface, a young princess manages to send a telepathic signal. After an analysis reveals that Valerian may have received a signal from outside space and time, he learns that his mission is to retrieve a mule converter, so called because it can replicate anything it eats indefinitely. This is the last of its kind, and is currently in the hands of black market dealer Egon Cirrus. Valerian asks Laureline to marry him before leaving, but she brushes him off due to his many affairs with female colleagues and his lack of commitment. As Valerian and Laureline travel to the X-dimensional bizarre big market, he disrupts a meeting between Egon and two hooded figures resembling humanoids from his vision. The converter is also sought, and it turns out that it is one of the small animals he saw in his vision. The converter is recovered by Valerian and Laureline, and he steals one of the pearls. He discovers on board their ship that Mule was destroyed 30 years ago and no information exists about it. They return to Alpha, where their superior, Frosty Commander Aaron Fillet, informs them the center of the station has been infected by an unknown force, rendering it highly toxic. Troops sent into the area have not returned, and the infection is growing. Laureline and Valerian are assigned to protect the commander during an interstation summit to discuss the crisis. Against the commander's wishes, Laureline maintains possession of the converter. During the summit, the humanoids suddenly attack, incapacitating everyone before kidnapping Fillet. Valerian chases the kidnappers to the infected area and crashes his vehicle. Evading arrest for insubordination, Laureline enlists the help of some aliens to track Valerian, and finds him unconscious at the edge of the infected zone. She wakes him, but is kidnapped by a primitive imperial tribe called Bulan Bathers that lives nearby. Valerian infiltrates the tribe's territory with the help of a shape-shifting dancer, Bubble. They save Laureline and escape, but Bubble is mortally wounded. As she dies, she convinces Valerian to never give up on his feelings for Laureline. Valerian and Laureline venture further into the infected area, realizing it is actually not toxic and contains some wrecks of antique spacecraft. They reach a large shielded hall where they find the humanoids, known as Pearls, with an unconscious Fillet. Their leader, Emperor Haben Limai, explains that his people lived peacefully on Mule until a battle broke out in orbit between the human government's fleet and another species. The human commander, Fillet, ordered the use of a doomsday weapon that wiped out both the enemy and the planet. Upon dying, Princess Liho Mana transferred her soul into Valerian's body. A small group of survivors took shelter in a crashed human spaceship. They managed to repair it, and learned of the humans' technology and history. They eventually came to Alpha, where they assimilated more knowledge and built a ship that could recreate their former home. It took only the converter and the pearl to launch the ship. Fillet admits his role in the genocide, but argues that ending the war and covering up the events were necessary to prevent the expulsion of humans from Alpha. According to Valerian and Laureline, the commander is only trying to save himself from the consequences of his actions, before Valerian knocks him out again. Valerian hands over the pearl he stole, and Laureline convinces him to return the converter too, ignoring procedures. While the Pearl spacecraft prepares for takeoff to no longer bother the other species in Alpha, Fillet's pre-programmed robot K-Tron soldiers attack the Pearls, the government soldiers who were sent to assist Valerian, and their support staff, but are ultimately defeated. The spacecraft departs and Fillet is arrested. While Valerian and Laureline are left adrift, Laureline finally accepts Valerian's marriage proposal as they wait for rescue. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help a channel out. Thank you for watching.